Hey, welcome back to the Big Rant Show. As always, thank you for joining me. If you could, hit that subscribe button down below and let's get right to it. Jerry Falwell Jr. put out a tweet the other day that Donald Trump retweeted. It all has to do with the Mueller report and the Mueller investigation and all that mess. But he calls it a failed coup attempt. And says that Donald Trump should have 2 years added to his first term. Let me read you this tweet. After the best week ever for Donald Trump, no obstruction, no collusion. We'll get to those 2 points in a minute. New York Times admits Barack Obama did spy on his campaign and the economy is soaring. I now support reparations. Trump should have 2 years added to his first term as payback for time stolen by this corrupt, failed coup. May I remind you, Jerry Falwell Jr., of the 8 years of corruption by the GOP against Barack Obama? Should I remind you of the 2 years stolen from President Bill Clinton because he had an affair? How about the 8 years of obstruction against Barack Obama, though? Should he have gotten 4 years added to each term for all the obstruction? If I do recall, the Republicans had a closed-door session right after the inauguration, vowing to make Barack Obama a one-term president to any way necessary. They failed because the American people saw through it. And let's talk about the Mueller investigation. You mean the investigation that was started by Republicans? The ones that the Democrats had no control over who was in control of that? You mean the Republican, the lifelong Republican who was appointed by a lifelong Republican at the behest of a Republican-controlled Congress and a Republican Attorney General? That Robert Mueller? That Mueller investigation? Now, yes, no collusion was found in the Trump campaign. And I think that's a great thing. As much as I don't like Donald Trump, I am glad to know he didn't. But I also always assumed he didn't. If anybody had ever been trying to collude with Russia, it would not have been Donald Trump himself. One, I don't think he really wanted to win that badly. I don't think he really wanted to win that badly. But I do believe people in his circle wanted him to win that badly. But I don't think they were competent enough to collude. Either that or Russia wasn't stupid enough to get involved that deeply. So no, I never believed Donald Trump colluded with anybody. Do I believe he had a good working relationship with Russia? Yeah, but I don't believe that equaled collusion in the campaign. And then the New York Times admits Barack Obama spied on the Trump campaign. Well, let's see. That was something that's been open for 2 years. We've known that there was some spying done on some members of the Trump campaign. But also that it wasn't on Donald Trump directly. It had to do with people within his campaign that were doing things illegally. Not necessarily tied to the campaign. Take a look at the people that they brought down. Michael Flynn had done something illegal. That is why they were looking for him. Manafort had done stuff illegal. That's why they were investigating him. But none of it was about Donald Trump. Now on to no obstruction. Now, you can't sit there, Mr. Falwell Jr., and tell me that there was no obstruction when the Mueller report clearly makes clear, definitively, that there was evidence. But the confliction was that could not, under Justice Department rules as he felt he was bound by, indict a sitting president for obstruction. That's why it was left to Congress. So don't tell me there was no obstruction. There was evidence for it. If there wasn't evidence for it, it would have stated as such in the Mueller report. In his report, it does not say there was no obstruction. He makes clear the problem was he was bound by the rules of the Justice Department, following the rules of the investigation, and the fact that he didn't believe he had the ability to indict a sitting president. That was Congress's job. If there was to be any kind of indictment or any kind of impeachment, it would have to be the job of Congress. That is the way we do things. No one person can bring down a president. No one person can indict a sitting president for something like obstruction and take him out of office. That is the job of Congress and Congress alone. So no, do I believe Donald Trump deserves 2 years added to his first term in office? Hell no. Unless you're going to kick him out and put Barack Obama back in office for another 8 years. Because Barack Obama dealt with 8 years non-stop obstruction by the GOP. Non-stop obstruction. Everything that Barack Obama tried to get passed was obstructed by the GOP. Every single move he made. Including trying to create funding for the Child Health Care Initiative called CHIP. The GOP screwed with the lives of the working class for 8 years to obstruct Barack Obama. They harmed the economy for 8 years trying to obstruct Barack Obama. The Mueller report was not a failed coup attempt. It was not a coup attempt. It was not corrupt. Your party, Jerry Falwell, created the Mueller investigation. The GOP, your party, Mr. Falwell, put Mueller in charge of that investigation at the behest of a Republican-controlled Congress under the guidance of a Trump appointee, Jeff Sessions, as Attorney General, and a lifelong Republican, Rosenstein, who appointed a lifelong Republican. Let me repeat that. Jeff Sessions, a lifelong Republican, guided the Assistant Attorney General Rosenstein, a lifelong Republican, who then appointed a lifelong Republican, Robert Mueller, to investigate Donald Trump. How is that a corrupt investigation? Unless you're saying the GOP was corrupt, because they're the ones that instigated the whole damn thing. Cry me a river, Jerry Falwell Jr. Go back to the little hovel you crawled out of. Because obviously, you don't know what facts are. The fact is, there wasn't anything that said no obstruction. Donald Trump can repeat there was no obstruction all the hell he wants. But that is not the case. That is not what the Mueller report says. It says the only reason that he wasn't indicted on obstruction was because he could not be indicted based on the Department of Justice rules. And it was not a failed coup attempt. Unless the GOP was trying to take down their own president. Anyhow, this has been the Big Ranch Show. I've been your host, Jacob Keck, and I'll see you down the road.